A lovely good evening.
You can start.
A lovely good evening to all my viewers and all wonderful listeners who are present over on this wonderful platform today. Well, my name is Sonesh Bharadwaj and I'm joining all of you from Bangalore, India. Well, so about me, I am a global motivational speaker, a certified leadership master trainer, a life coach, business coach, an entrepreneur, author, and a women catalyst. I majorly deal into corporate training, coaching, and mentoring as my passion. Apart from that, I'm also an advisory board member and director for various NGOs platform, not only in India but across the world, which is helping the mankind to empower human lives. So that's a brief intro about me. But more than this, I also have something to introduce about this wonderful platform of IIU. But before that, I would love to thank my sincere, heartfelt gratitude to IIU for having me here as a resource person. Well, about IIU, International Internship University is a leading virtual education system and global brand confederation, which is the most valuable and trusted worldwide and well reputed in delivering innovative programs. Globally, it is a trusted name for quality training programs and is committed to providing better and virtual education to all the young learners of the globe. In a short span of time, IIU has spread its wings in 195 countries and 6 continents under the strong leadership of its visionary founder, Mr. Piyush Pandit sir, a committed and inspiring social activist, a passionate educationalist from the last 2 decades, providing education to students from various social and cultural backgrounds. So, this was a brief intro about this wonderful and lovely platform of IIU. Well, so today I'm here with a wonderful theme. As you all know, we are going to talk about leadership beyond titles. So let me just quickly share with you what my experience of last 17 years in the industry in corporate sector has helped me to gain a wider, and I would say to define this term of leadership probably into the most experiential manner. So, on that note, let me just quickly start and share with all of you. So, well, it's me, Sunesh. So, as you all know, that I'm a global motivational speaker, keynote speaker. I am also certified train the trainer, coach, sales and leadership master trainer, life and business coach, startup mentor, and a spiritual intuitive healer, entrepreneur, and author. Now, let me start with today's theme, leadership beyond titles. Journey of being an effective leader. I'm sure we all have gone through this wonderful term called leadership. We must have experienced leadership as a wide term in our life, in different spheres of life, I would say. Not only in the work nature, I would say, even in our personal life, we all need to understand how this term can create a magical impact. But the condition apply is, are we able to understand the meaning of true leadership, or are we a effective leader? So let's begin this wonderful magical journey of being leadership beyond titles. What is leadership? The action of leading a group of people or an organization, or the ability to do this, is a very, very good and formulated definition of being into leadership as far as our work profile is concerned. Most important, the process of influencing the activities of an organized group, in its effort towards goal setting and goal achievement is something which comes under leadership. But the question comes here, definition wise, everything looks wonderful, fantabulous. We all can read it. But are we really implementing those practical, I would say, statements into our life? That's a big question. Not to the world. Probably first you should ask this question to you yourself. Because leadership as a term, as a title, can be used by anybody. But if you really want to be a true leader in a true sense, true meaning, you need to explore yourself and really show that your actions are syncing with what you believe in the term called leadership. Let's understand what are the various factors in leadership which actually we all are getting carried away by. So far, as far as in my knowledge, whatever we have gone through with our formal education, or I would say even at the work practices, we all see great leaders or most it's inspiring leaders in our life always have some common practices in place. Now, what are those common practices? What actually differentiates or distinguishes them as a strong leader and sets them as a benchmark in the industry? Now, I have mentioned here very categorically four characteristics, or I'd say factors, but it is not only four. These only four key characters, or I would say the traits or the factors, can eventually lead to n number of sub factors which a leader can be defined in the real sense. Now, first and the foremost thing when I talk about factors is followers. You must know your followers, who are basically the crowd or the kind of people are following you. Because ultimately, a leader is going to be, as I mentioned, the role model to not to everyone, but probably to a set of people whom they really inspires. Point number two, the most important factor is a leader who know yourself. You should not be someone who is only categorized or defined by the management terminologies. You should be somebody who really has explored that you know yourself and do you do justification of who you are as an individual. Now, when I use a term called justification, I never mean to say that you need to go and take a validation from people, but eventually your actions should be the right example, not to you yourself, but probably to the crowd or to the people or to the society, in whichever group you are the most inspiring figure. Third one, communication. Today, communication is not only about talking English. Communication basically is the strongest tool, which we all need to understand, has to be simplified in a manner that you are able to transfer your message or communicate your thought process right from your brain, synced with your heart, and it is coming out in the most beautiful verbal code of conduct to the audience or to the society. So it should always be a two-way communication. It cannot be a one-way. A two-way is always when you speak, someone is listening. But always there is a great saying, a great communicator is always needs to be a great listener first. So when your term comes as a listener, ensure you are a great listener too. Fourth one is situation. Adapt to the situation. Leaders are not someone, or in fact, if I use a term called effective leaders or true leaders are not someone who are always find themselves at the roadblocks. There will be n number of challenges in their situation. There will be n number of circumstances in their life, whether it is personal or professional does not matter. All it matters is, do you have that mindset which actually helps you to adapt to that situation? Whether the situation is temporary or permanent does not matter. Because always remember, today, if you are going through certain things, which does not make any sense to you, my dear friends, a leader always consider that as a temporary setback, and he always bounce back very strongly in terms of changing the entire situation. And that's why we always call them as true leaders, not the true followers. The next one, let's understand what is this effective leadership is required. The first question you should always ask, as I mentioned, leadership is a term everybody love to have. But please understand, it's not a titled oriented term. It's much beyond it. And you can really develop a very strong personality if you can understand the real understanding of who a true leader should be and how this leadership concept can really bring magical changes, not only in your professional, but in fact, the personal life as well. Since good leadership is hard to define, as you all know, it is also difficult to directly measure because sometimes we might have a very strong personality in front of us, but somewhere even we get confused that what we should pick from this person and what we should leave about this particular person. As you know, we all are human beings and we have our own ups and downs in life. We have our own strong strengths and we have our own weaknesses. You have to accept a human being the way they are. You cannot say, I'll only take strengths and I don't want to take weaknesses. You have to accept them wholeheartedly, whether it is plus or minuses. Then only you can say you are someone who understands the definition of true humanity in a true leader sense. Next is plain and simple. Leadership is all about getting others to take action. My dear friends, I'm sure you all are doing fantabulously great in your own lives. Does not matter whichever profession you are into, because according to me, every profession is respected as long as you respect yourself, right? So always try to understand here when we are talking about leadership, it is always about, are you making others to take action? And if that is the approach you are able to follow, you are developing yourself into a strong leadership. Third one is exceptional leadership inspires the best efforts in others. The classic example of this I can tell you, when you are a strong, inspiring leader, and when people look at you, by your presence, they always feel that I also want to become like so and so person because I feel if he or she can do it, probably by following certain things these successful people do, even I can change my life. And why not? Because I'm sure we all have this magnetic pull towards a lot of great and successful people in our life because somewhere we all see ourselves in their place. But if you're not able to achieve, don't worry, there is always a way, and you have to follow the right path to travel that journey. Next is you understand the foundations of what makes someone an effective leader. As I mentioned earlier, don't go by titles. Search out the more deeper sense of who a true leader could be. You can be a spiritual leader, you can be uh, educationalist, you can be anybody, a very strong personality in your own workplace. The right way to measure your are you effective or not is something not to be derived by your titles. Let's say you might be heading a very well reputed position in your organization or whichever government department you work for. But if you really want to test that are you a true leader or not, what you should do, it's a self evaluation. Always when you are not supposed or you don't feel a need of using your power again and again, my dear friends, if people are getting too much into the sync manner of doing the task, and you need not to again and again remind them who you are as a powerful person, that's the real measure that you have developed that bonding with your people, and people are quite comfortable talking to you as a leader. Because according to me, a true powerful leader is someone where they need not to tell 100 times who they are as a person. Rather, their actions automatically makes people to take a very powerful action. And before you ask them the same task, I think the task is done. That's called the real power of a great leader. What kind of organizational culture is most effective? Now, this is what something I was trying to tell all of you. When we say about leaders, in your workplace, you'll find a lot of people who might be heading a very, very powerful departmental positions, organizational verticals, right? But I'm sure you will be able to figure out a couple of personalities at your workplace who are really, heading towards the power of true leader. So try to learn from them rather than you create boundaries from them. Then only you will become somewhere very close to how to lead or how to be an effective leader. Examples. For example, you can say we pride ourselves in not training for training's sake. Like, as you all know, training is a big kind of question mark in a lot of people's mind, because they consider training is something only meant for people who can afford to pay such kind of things. My dear friends, training right now is the necessity if you really want to empower people with the right performance. And a true leader always carries that into their mind, that if you have to work with people around you, your people need to be upgraded, your people need to be enhanced on regular intervals of time. Training is not about a game of filling your corporate books by the end of the financial year. I think it is a much more serious game beyond your checklists, because you are empowering, enhancing people, and you are upgrading them towards the development sector, whether it is a personal or individual development. And finally, you are helping the organization to have the right performance out of an individual. And that's why we call an effective leader always keep in mind that why it is important, and he always ensure things has to be done at the right time. Another couple of examples could be to develop the future readers with right cultural fit and company values. This is something which is right now, again, a very big challenge for a lot of good corporate leaders, I would say, because it's not like people are not talented. I always believed in my journey. I was blessed to have very great, I would say, corporate leaders who have trained me, mentored me. And somehow in my journey, I have learned nobody is bad or good. It's all about the power of a leader, that how you can strengthen up that individual, how you can uplift or upgrade that individual from wherever they are. But for that, first you need to accept them the level where they are. And if you are just I mean disconnecting yourself from that level, you will not be able to do justice. I completely get that. Sometimes there are very critical projects you cannot afford to waste so much of time. Yes, you can always move with the probably better choices, but if you have time, do not ignore people simply because it's all about a matter of training and mentoring and coaching them in the right frame of mind. And if you can really do that, I think you are actually inspiring people, not only at the workplace, you help them even in their individual development too. Integrated leadership development framework incorporating six structured development pathways at different levels. I will not go into the deeper segmentation of this particular point, because this is a very again a vital point to explain as far as the corporate organizational structure and the framework is concerned. But yes, all I'm trying to say here is, as you know, we hire a lot of people, right? And they all get promoted, let's say, to the next level of leadership, and then finally third, fourth, L4, L5. So there are different levels when we talk about in an organizational setup, and every particular level requires certain level of expertise, certain level of upgradation, and certain level of justice to the kind of title you are going to carry. And the most important is the responsibility framework which comes along with that title. Because, my dear friends, it's not a task of playing with titles. With titles, with promotions, you are, I think, entitled to have bigger role to play, and that's called the role of responsibility. Third one, customized development planning, skills training, personal development, one-on-one coaching and mentoring, and 360-degree feedback and action learning. My word here is very clear. I always believe into action learning, not into the formal training setup where you just go, train people, and get your things done and move back. I think that setup no more is into consideration, and it does not fairly work out for a long run. If you really want your people has to be strengthened right from the grassroots level, ensure that you have 360-degree kind of feedback mechanism and an action oriented learning mechanism at your workplace. Let's understand more about this effective leadership, how to go and attain and do certain changes in our own life. First, break your old habits, responses, and form new ones. Because this is the first key condition to be an effective leader. Because with the old pattern, we cannot have a new changes in our life. It's simply like this. If you are keep giving the older input, definitely your output cannot change. Right? So if you're really looking out for something new outcome, some changed outcome, you need to understand you have to change your input as well. And changing input means you have to break the patterns in your brain, which probably you are sustaining for a very, very long time. And that is actually putting you at the back step. So don't stop your growth. Don't stop your entire change process just because your old pattern is not allowing you to go and adapt for the new change in your life. Next one, know which areas to improve, because an effective leader always work towards their areas of improvement. As you all know, we have two sides of our mindset: growth mindset and fixed mindset. So I believe an effective leader should always work from the growth mindset. And the definition of a growth mindset is always around improvement. For them, there is nothing called failure. It's all about area of improvisation, which they constantly work upon. And that's one of the key leading characteristics of an effective leadership. Use a reliable assessment to identify your areas of growth opportunity. Now, this can be as simple as that. Some of you wanted to change your old patterns or old behavioral setups, right? And you are finding it very difficult. Start picking it up one by one. Develop a plan of action. And then you keep just having accountability check how you are going to go about it. Somewhere, wherever you go wrong, please be honest to yourself. Don't just get into biased mode. It's okay if I'm doing it up wrong, does not matter. I'll see later on. Later on, there is no change. You have to do change whenever you decided. That's called change. So don't, I would say, procrastinate things for tomorrow, day after tomorrow, because in this way, you will only lose time. And if you're really willing to change something, the time is today, my dear friends. Past and future has nothing to do much more with your present. Make your present very strong so that about past you cannot do much, but I'm sure your future you can build around a very, very strong present foundations. Understanding effective leadership, you have to become very influential. Now here when we talk about influential, there are two types which you need to understand. One is influence by power, another is you're talking about authority. Now, when we talk about authority, power, very, very deep dive terminologies, I'll not go into the deeper side of it, because if I start, probably I can go on those topics, because that's quite close to my management topics, which I usually take. But yes, just to touch base on those points. When I say become influential, what I mean by that is don't become a person where 100 times you have to tell people who you are in terms of your title. Be a person where the moment you are present in the entire your gathering, people can sense that you are there and they know what is your key expectation. That's called power of influence. People should not get scared by looking at your title. Rather, they become someone where they have actually a reach when there is a problem, but they should also understand that they cannot overlook you when there are certain expectation from your side too. So this is called complete balancing act you maintain with your people. And that's called the power of influence. Facilitating teamwork and collaboration. Allow your people to collaborate, to team, because a right leader always work into teams. They are no one who actually believes in the concept of I, because they have understood fairly good way when you are into team, probably you can play a bigger dimension game and you can play a more powerful game rather than only breaking your head around the word called I. Change your word I from we. That's the power of an effective leader. Being a catalyst for change, never ever afraid of going through a change. As we all know, change is very, very painful because our human brain always love to be in our own comfort zone. We are so used to, we don't want to step out, but it's absolutely okay. I think the change, when we go through, we all have a pain to have that change, but ultimately we will come down to a conclusion where I'm sure we will love that new change in our life. The biggest example today I can tell you is COVID has taught a lot of things to all of us. Somewhere people always have this mental block that we cannot have online education or we cannot just study. I completely get that. There is a huge difference when we talk about offline and online, but I don't think so that online education is not capable of delivering what is required to be. If that was the case, today I will never be sitting here from one part of India and taking my session and connecting with all of you across the globe. I think it's all about utilizing your opportunity and identifying that opportunity in the right manner. So I think today we all fairly have draw that line that yes, today we can sit in front of system and we can do some sort of learning in a most powerful way. Managing conflicts, developing others, and having and communicating in a compelling vision is something you all need to develop if you really want to lead beyond titles. What is ineffective leadership? I know so far we have seen what are the key things we need to understand in terms of an effective leader. But now let's also understand the second flip side of this coin, because according to me, this is a single coin which is having a head and tail. So now I'm going to talk the second flip side of this particular coin, which actually comes under ineffective leadership. Inability to motivate people is the biggest sign that you are heading towards a incapable leader. You're turning out to be incapable leader. Difficult attracting or retaining the right people. So see here, you all can develop this mindset or attitude that if you want to learn, learn either my way or catch the highway. Please understand, this statement fairly can work to a very, very limited segment, but not in the bigger teams, not in the bigger setups, and not even for the growth of the people. Because let me tell you, today you can fire the entire team and you are again going to hire, because you know people are your strength and people need to be there at work to execute the projects and the entire performance. You again hire. Is there a guarantee that you will get all sort of people who will be completely like you? First of all, never have this mental block. You will not find people who are probably like you because you are unique in your own way. Similarly, even others are unique in their own way. Here, the question and the fight should not be why we are unique. Here, the particularly question has to be, let's celebrate differences and let's become a single team and move towards a bigger performance oriented goals. That is what we talk about at the corporate sector, and that's why people with so many differences in culture, geographies, still are able to lead such a powerful games when it comes to performance is just because they believe in working with everybody and respecting the differences. Whosoever you are, have a great respect for yourself, but at the same time, please understand, learn to respect even different thought process of other people too, because they are also your team members, and a true leader always take the entire team with themselves. Low productivity, if your team or you have a very low productivity, it is again moving you towards ineffective leadership. A poor customer orientation, high stress levels, you start isolating yourself, or profits are declining massively. So these are all the particularly I would say in a very short term, these are all the signs you will get then when you are moving towards incapable or ineffective way of leading the team, whether into groups or even leading any project. Ineffective delegation, one of the biggest threat to a leader, because if a leader does not understand how to delegate the tasks, I think you have not mastered the art of leadership. The real strength of a leader lies that you pick people as per their strength, not per as their weaknesses. Never ever insult people just by picking them onto their weaknesses. Rather, play a very vital game here with those people who are weak. If you are able to find out, please turn their weaknesses into strengths and always motivate them how to use and how to learn and empower that weakness zone into strengths. And that's how you actually help people to level up their games. If you lack creativity, if you lack initiation, if you have very ineffective teams, somewhere there is a poor communication because you are only going with, fine, we all will do our own work, but the kind of communication you and your team members should have, that is pathetically down. You have lack of vision and you have diminishing revenues, and you are only thinking about having high turnovers. So all these are the statements which actually can give you a sign or signal, or I would say red alarming uh, signal that you are somewhere missing the complete piece of right leadership. So it's time for you to level up your game, put yourself with the right mentors, right guides, right coaches who can probably help you to come out of this entire complete unhealthy and unproductive zone. Because I always believe we are not God or we are not experts in each and everything. When you are not, nothing to worry about. You have experts available in the market. All you need to do is find the right person who can really do justice to the kind of change you are looking out to yourself. This is what something is a challenging task. Next is, what skills do leaders need? Let's understand. A leader need to be a driver. Who is a driver? Driver is somebody who can drive the situation no matter what, whether the situation is favorable or unfavorable. That's why we call them as a leader. If you are someone who is just escaping out, when things are going happy, you say, yeah, it's done by me and my team. And when things are not going right, you have a statement, what should I do? Resources were very incomplete. Please mark my words, you are heading towards a disastrous way of changing your own personality. You are not heading towards a constructive, or I would say transformational leadership style. Rather, you are becoming into a damager side. So be very mindful of that. A true leader is always a driver who does not give excuses if the things are going in favor or not going in favor. They always understand how to switch the game. Things might take some time, it's absolutely fine, but don't be afraid and don't step back, because you are born to lead and lead in the forward direction. Next is motivators. You should be a great motivator to your team members or people around you. I believe always somebody, if you can motivate even a single person, in my eyes, you are a great leader in yourself. Feel happy about it, that at least you are able to change at least one person life, and that one person can be somebody in your own family, can be in your office, can be in and around the society, who knows. Because you cannot underestimate your own potential. As I mentioned, God has created all of us in a unique fashion, and please respect that creation of God, because we all are powerful in our own ways. Next is self confidence. You should have the right self confidence in you, intelligence, knowledge, and the most important key traits a right leader should have is the right balance between emotional intelligence. Again, emotional intelligence, I'm sure you all know it's again a very vast field to discuss and very, very interesting terminologies to discuss and talk about. So these are a couple of things which the right leaders needs to have in terms of their skill set. When we talk about organizational culture, now foundation of a strong organization basically depends upon development of a clear and compelling purpose. If as a leader your team is not having a clear purpose, that why they are coming to office, what is their clear day to day activity, and if they are not excited at all doing whatever they love to do, it is a clear sign that somewhere the leader has failed to create the right spark in the team's mind. So it's time to just sit with your team and ensure that you create the right spark in everyone's mind. You direct your team and you motivate your team member to a level which is required. Always remember, here I want to mention one very strong thing. A lot of people say motivation does not work. My dear friends, motivation only does not work when it is being used at the wrong time. What I mean by that, let's say you are having a fever. One day, 2 day, you were sitting at home and you were trying to become a self-analyzed, complete master doctor, and you start taking your own tablets without consulting a doctor. 2 days was fine. Third day onwards, you have a very your fever starts, slowly increasing up. You still does not understand the sign, and you start taking heavy doses. Fourth day you collapsed, and then your home people have to take you to the doctor, and you are hospitalized. And then there the doctor shouts at you, can't you understand that what has happened for the last 4 days, the kind of damage you have done to your body? If you have your right conscious and you could have taken the first consultation with your doctor right from the day one, I'm sure you need not to suffer for 4 days. So motivation is like that. You have to give the right spark of motivation right from the day one. It's not about a game when the person is in the ICU and you are telling, give me some fever tablet, I will be all right. Willingness is good, but over willingness always kills you, right? When you need a doctor, please understand, don't try to become a doctor. Get your experts things done by an expert. Similarly here, as a leader, you need to understand motivation is not a game of one day or finally everything collapsed, now I'll start motivating my team. This will not work. You have to give them the right spark right on every single day basis in a consistent manner, and then you see how motivation works, and how then you will see your own people will come and start talking to you. That's the power of motivation. Identification of the organizational mission to achieve the purpose, agreement, and adoption of a complete leadership attitude throughout the organization is something which is quite expected from all the leaders of various corporates. Today we have very strong, I would say, mindset when it comes to leadership as a position, especially if I talk about corporate organizational cultural setups. So there are two ways to look into it. How we are learning from these all aspiring leaders. Are we daily going to an office? We see our boss, Arey wow, you are working at such a top leader. What a nice job you have. Are you considering your aspiring leader like this way? Or you seriously go and talk to that strong, powerful personality on everyday basis and you try to learn something out of it? Now, this is a question which you have to decide for yourself if you really want to develop into a strong, powerful personality. Because without talking, just by looking at them, you might change onto the outer look. But if you really want to work and become and lead like him, you have to go and talk to them. That is where you bring the right mindset of change in you. Because if you hold yourself without talking and you start feeling, okay, things will change, things will not change without actions. It is just like you are daydreaming. And always understand, daydreaming is good. But if you really want to achieve something, have a daydreaming. And I would say have a bigger daydreaming, but always put your actions in place. Because daydreaming with right action planning and execution is the right key to successfully turning out your dreams into reality. And that's the real magic, what you receive when you really achieve that whole thing which you were daydreaming about. That's a bigger thing which you always aim for. Let's understand the 5 P's of a strong leadership. First, pay attention to what's important wherever you are, whether it's your personal sphere, whether it is your work culture. You need to understand important is important. That cannot be taken for granted. Next is praise what you want to continue. If you feel someone is really doing some sort of hard work and those things are really making a huge change in terms of constructive way, always praise such kind of talent at your workplace. I does not say that you should demotivate people. No, because that should not be the term here. I always feel a real true leader always carry that mindset of praising people in the right way so that things can be led into a very constructive format. Punish what you want to stop, because something if you feel is not going right, don't you need not to think thrice and 4 times. You have to immediately put a stop, because further continuation of such things can really bring toxic environment at your workplace. And toxicity at workplace is it's a slow poison. So it will not probably kill people in one go, but yes, in a long run, it is going to kill your entire atmosphere. So before you hit on that situation, ensure you take the right stepping. Pay for the results you want and promote those people who deliver those results, because rewards appreciation has to come with a action planning. It is not a free lunch, my dear friends, because see, when you work very, very hard and you get recognized for it, let me tell you, the feeling is very different, and you feel like you are on the 10th heaven. But when you are not doing anything and you are just simply getting rewards and recognition, I think a leader has to understand you are just demeaning the meaning of rewarding the right talent. Never ever do this injustice, because people otherwise start backfooting. The reason is they only understand about you that you are not a true leader who can recognize fairly that who is putting the right hard work and who is not putting the right hard work. And one most important thing I want to tell you here, at your workplace, you might find people who are very good talkers, and you'll find somebody who is silent, but they really honestly and genuinely do their work. Try to identify, because your leadership skill should not be who can talk best. Your leadership skill should be who can bring result in the most desired manner. That is how you should. Ultimately, the bottom line I want to tell you, people who speak less or who are silent, do not underestimate them that they cannot perform. Probably they can perform much better, because for them action is everything. So stay connected to your people. Look at the right reason of reward and recognition, because that's where you bring the real spark of a true leader. A true leader has the confidence to stand alone, the courage to make tough decisions, and the compassion to listen to the needs of others. He does not set out to be a leader, but become one by the equality of his actions and the integrity of his intent. All I'm trying to say is develop your qualities and skill sets so powerfully that people miss your presence when you are not even few kilometers around them. They can really miss your presence, and they can really feel you in the true essence of who you are as a person. What are the characteristics of a good team leader? I think I need not to talk much about it because we have already spoke in detail. I'm just going to quickly cover on the points. Build trust, develop common commitments, train members for empowerment, not for the training's sake, provide full information to your team, all in short, be transparent to your team members wherever it is needed. Know all team members well, develop your team spirit, encourage members to excel rather than you start demotivating or discouraging them for non performance. Create an enthusiastic environment and share success with your members, because when you successively share certain success stories or small success events with them, I think that brings that right confidence in them to work more harder at the workplace and bring the right results. Let's see what the 7 secrets of inspiring leaders who actually to be very honest, they are great in their own ways, and what separately they believe which can really be incorporated, integrated, and bring to the best. Ignite your enthusiasm. You cannot inspire unless you are inspired by yourself. So a true leader first has to work on they themselves, because if you can change yourself, I'm sure you pretty much sets the right example in front of your own team members that, hey, if I can do, it is possible by everybody. And they are someone who are much more an action taker, and the team believes always more than your words when you are an action taker leader. Navigate a course of action. Nothing extraordinary ever happened without a leader articulating a vision, a course of action. So ensure you are someone who believes in the power of action rather than only daydreaming. Paint a picture. Our brains are programmed more for stories than for abstract ideas. Stories can also include personal, helping to establish a closer connection between leaders and team. As a leader, it is highly important for you to understand at least your team members to a level where you can develop the right connect, right bonding in the most healthiest manner. And if you see somebody is going down in productivity, you can really help them to up level their game and bring them back into the right productivity levels. Sell the benefits. A leader always take risk, but here I want to add one more term called calculative risk. So a leader never hesitate to take risk, because if you're not a risk taker, I'm so sorry, you cannot develop the right quality of a leader, because a leader always get and puts themselves into a mode of risk. Now, risk can be calculative and uncalculative, but then you have to draw a fair, healthy line, or I would say healthy boundary to define these two terms in your life. Because sometimes you cross your boundaries, certain things are not healthy. But if you don't cross and you play just till the boundary level, I think things can really turn out magical if you really have the presence of mind to work towards this risk factor. And then you see the right rewards coming in your life. Encourage potential. Don't underestimate your person. Hey, he's not good into communication, he's not having a very strong personality, he cannot come talk to strong people. Never ever do that. By doing so, you're not going to gain anything. Rather, play a game and make sure that this person might be not good with all the attributes or the traits what you are expecting. But I think there is always an area of improvisation which can be sparked into an individual, but that you can only do when you have the right bonding and you show the right path as a leader to these team members. Then you see the magic. They can really do it because it's all about a matter of right motivation, bringing the right spark in their life, and showing them that you are not someone who needs to stay isolated. Rather, you are someone who's a team player, and let's play like a team. Reinforce optimism. It's a force multiplier, as you all know. Invite participation from people, because when you invite participation, people are going to feel much more like a family rather than being isolated. Quickly, let's understand what is this manager as a powerful team and a leader. Manager always oversees the current processes well, while a leader wants to create the future because they are more futuristic. Much achieved balance, but here they need to make changes, and change is their constant process in life, which a leader always get empowers with. They don't enjoy simple coming things on daily basis to them. They always look out for bigger opportunities, and that's where the change factor is required in their life. Here, a manager thinks execution, but a leader thinks like, okay, what I can develop, what I can build, what I can probably, make my team to work for future goals. Here, they are very comfortable in controlling people, but here they welcome risk. As I mentioned, if you are not a risk taker, so sorry, you are not getting into the right mind frame of developing yourself as a leader. And in our personal life, we have also seen sometimes we have to take very, very bigger risk in life without our knowledge. We cannot say no to them. And that is where you develop this power, confidence, and you drive yourself very strongly. Problems are just that, need a resolution as soon as possible for managers. But here, a leader always sees problem as an opportunity. Here, procedure is the king, but here, he always try to build something concrete like a king. Here, there are much more about techniques and it is more impersonal. Here, you have the high emotional intelligence, because a leader always has to develop a fair balance when it comes to emotions, when it comes to, I would say, practical approach, and when it comes to basically working through heart, mind, body, and soul combination. Basically, they balances all these areas. Nothing but spiritual corporate leadership has to be the need of the hour right now to develop the entire sync in the true essence of a leader. Good leaders are made, not born. If you have the desire and willpower, you can become an effective leader. Always remember, good leaders develop through a never ending process of self study, education, training, and experience. It's not a game of titles. Again, I repeat, it's much beyond a bigger game beyond your titles. So don't limit your potential just by having one title. Rather, create something which is unique, which is dynamic, and which can make people to feel more powerful when they are guided and directed under your leadership. So be a true, a sense and effective leader in the true meaning rather than flaunting just titles. Great leaders don't set out to be a leader. They set out to make a differences. It's never about the role. It's always about the goal. Great leaders are always great listeners who can cut through argument, debate, and doubt to offer a solution everybody can understand. And always believe in the power of yes, I can. That is what is the right, I would say, mantra a true leader always carry with they themselves. Because that pretty much sets the whole crowd and that pulls the entire spark in them. So that's all from my side, all about leadership beyond titles. I'm sure I was able to add some sort of value added information to all of yours life. And if you feel there is something which you can execute at your workplace and which you can execute at your personal life, please bring that change because change is very, very important. And if this change is very constructive, you are going to really sense a magical way to lead a life. That's all from my side. Thank you so much. Love, light, and lots of abundance to all of you. Thank you so much.